on.
Yeah,
Flip
they're
them
back.
on.
They're
Turn the
back.
lights
They're
on.
back. Turn the
Yeah,
lights
they're
on.
back.
Turn the
They're
Bum,
lights.
back.
bum. Okay. What you say, Mickey?
Turn the lights on. We're gonna have a rave. Hey, hey, break it down, chat. Hey,
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 hey.
hey,
It's a
hey,
party over here on Chatter.
hey,
Y'all tripping. If y'all still
hey.
on them other apps, like, what are you doing? Because you need to be over here. Because it's a party over here.
Party
Okay.
over here.
Party
Party
over
over
here
here
is
on
not over there.
Chatter.
Yeah, because they had to fight to get off the mic. But anywho, back to the title. Okay, the title. Oh yeah. By the way, make sure that you download a couple of episodes. If you go onto your podcasting platforms and you take a look at the description, okay, your name may just be mentioned. That is if you contribute to the conversation. So make sure that you join us, that you like us, you follow us on X, that you follow us on social media and your podcasting platforms. Also, give us a like. Last thing I'll ask you to do is to download a couple of episodes. Do that for us. Continue, guys. We're at almost a 5-star rating, guys. So please continue to give us those stars on the podcast. Continue to like, continue to download. We greatly appreciate all of our co-hosts, all of the audience members, and all of you that continue to support Debate the News Nightly. We do appreciate you. Going back to the topic today or this evening is Trump questions Putin's desire to end the war. What took so long? Why?
Can I ask a question?
What took so long? But the floor is open. Y'all got it.
Uh, I know the reason why Trump was giving supplies to Ukraine, so Russia got mad at the United States for giving guns, military support, and yeah, that's what I know.
You said what? You said what now? What you say,
Chat,
baby?
don't do
What you say? Can you say
chat.
that again?
No. Thank you, chat.
Isn't
Yeah, cause I
there
don't,
school tomorrow?
good, cause I did. That was a baby.
Yeah.
Somebody is up
Yeah.
past their bedtime now.
Somebody,
Come
mama
on
took their
now.
phone.
Come on now.
I don't know what a military support is. I don't know
Tomorrow.
what that is.
Tomorrow, Sunday.
But thank you. Go ahead.
I think what's really going on with Putin and Trump is I think Trump really does admire Putin, physically admire him as a man and his approach to doing things with his country. But at the same time, he's going to run into a buzzsaw and a brick wall by trying to move the way that he's moving because it's not going to work. But uh, I think he also messed up by not giving the arms and the protection to Ukraine the way that he should have, because by him letting down those walls and letting them go ahead and take Crimea the way that they're talking about doing, it's going to strengthen Russia because it's going to allow them to put the pipeline together that they want to do straight to Germany. But at the same time, I think it's going to put us on an international standing where people aren't really going to fuck with us the same way anymore. I'll land right there.
Jamal, I appreciate that. I think you had some salient points. The only question is admiring physically. Um, how?
When I say admiring physically, I'm not talking sexually. Don't
Chat,
don't
don't
mi-
use
don't,
words
don't
he can't understand.
yeah, yeah, don't.
That ain't even
When I
a
say
question,
physically,
girl.
Word.
That was a
when I
ridiculous,
say
girl.
physically, I'm talking about just as a man and the way that he does and runs his country. I think he admires that. I really do, and I think that he aspires to run the United States in that way, but it's just not going to work. It's too many safeguards already set up in the way that we do shit with our Congress, our Senate, and also our Supreme Court, and even the lower courts. He'll never be able to manipulate the government the way that Putin does on the Russian side. But I think physically he admires that, not from a sexual standpoint, but I'm talking
Oh,
about from
oh,
a
Oh
physical way
my
of running business.
God.
oh! I was concerned. I didn't know we turned into chatter after dark.
So
I didn't know
there's
we took that turn. TC, it's on
yeah,
you.
there's some merit in what he's saying, but I would push back a little bit about what he's, the fact that, or the idea that Trump admires the way Putin runs his country as a dictator, and that he wants to run his country the way Putin runs his. What I see happening here is I see an
He's
active
not that kind
negotiation.
of dictator, Jamal. That's not what the dick and
I,
dictator
I
means,
see,
bro. Okay.
I
All right.
see a
All right. I hope that baby
Hey,
went to
hey,
bed.
I
I
was
see an
thinking that
active
because
I
the
see an
little
active
dick guy is
negotiation
talking right
actually,
now. My
chat.
bad.
I see what's happening with Trump engaging in rhetorical diplomacy, right? He did the same thing with Vladimir Putin, with Volodymyr Zelensky, right? Arguing why Volodymyr Zelensky would make a claim against Crimea and say, no, we're not going to have peace until we have Crimea as well. He's essentially saying, he's creating a level playing field and saying, hey, if you guys want to come to a peace negotiation, a peace deal, both of you guys are going to have to offer concessions, and they have to be realistic. You going in and bombing uh, Kiev and taking innocent civilian casualties is not a way to negotiate peace in a war. And by Ukraine, Zelensky claiming that he's not going to release Crimea, which, let's just be honest, is an area of Ukraine currently occupied by Russia that would much rather be a part of Russia than to be a part of Ukraine because they're Russian loyalists, right? So I think actually what's happening here is not necessarily that there's some ulterior motive that exists, or that he's essentially now coming to terms with the realities of Putin's like overreach here. I think what's literally happening is you're dealing with a nuclear power that's engaged in combat with a non-nuclear power. It just so happens to be aligned with the interests of America's military alliances. And all I'm saying is, this is how you actively negotiate. You don't negotiate the same way with an ally that you would with a potential adversary. He's approaching this the right way. And I think if he continues to turn up the pressure, I hope he does. Actually, I see that happening in the next couple of weeks, that he'll continue to turn up the pressure. Trump actually has a huge base of support in Congress that's promoting the idea of secondary tariffs, basically putting tariffs on countries that do trade with Russia. That would be a very strong signal to Russia that it's time to cut it out. And America's using its economic might and leverage to bring about peace. That's what you would expect an executive like this to do. I think Trump is extremely predictable. I think what he's doing is admirable, and I think it's going to work.
I
Wow.
disagree. I disagree completely. I think the entire world is tariffed to death. Nobody cares about tariffs. Nobody's scared of tariffs anymore. And Donald Trump knows this. But what he also knows now is the same thing that Biden did. Russia was not going to stop at the areas that they annexed. They're not going to stop there. They're going all the way to Poland, baby. Why not? So, what Trump figured out this weekend was yes, Biden was correct. That's why we needed to continue to give them arms so that we could still have a strategic advantage in that area. Without it, there is a definite NATO situation. Definite. So that's what they figured out. And that's why tonight it was reported that Trump said there's no more talking to Putin at this point. He wants what he wants. Now, the United States has to make a decision on whether we are going to go further. Are we going to go ahead and send weapons back to Ukraine? What are we going to do at this point? Because now we know that Putin's objective has never changed ever since he was at the KGB. His objective has never changed. It is to topple the Western.
That's a fact.
It has never changed. Why would we think it's changed now that he is the president of a nuclear country? You'd be absolutely ridiculous. Yes, it's true that Trump did admire a lot of things in Putin. That there was the ignorance. Now we're dealing with the truth, the facts. And the fact is, now that Putin has seen the weakness in Trump, and the weakness in him comes from where? China, because China hasn't backed down. The other countries are going to China and making deals. This now makes the United States look what? Weak. So now Putin is saying, no, there's no deal. We're not talking. There's none of that. As a matter of fact, we're going to continue to bomb Kiev and we're going to ratchet up the pressure. We're going to bomb them even further. Why? Because now we know they don't have the capabilities that the United States was giving them. There's no need for us to retreat now. We should push further because we have them where we want them.
Yeah, so I'll
You know
respond
what?
to that briefly. The only reason why tariffs haven't worked is because countries have figured out a way to circumnavigate, or Russia's figured out a way to circumnavigate American tariffs and our sanctions regime on Russia by engaging in secondary and tertiary trade with other countries. And so I think this is a level-headed approach. I think it's consistent with America's foreign policy that we would engage in diplomacy while we're trying to negotiate peace. You wouldn't inflame the passions of a nuclear dictator by trying to engage in some sort of proxy war and promote and promulgate a proxy war with Russia because we just got done with that. And where did he get us? Got us more Ukrainian lives dead, more influence for Putin to just basically engage in warfare with impunity, killing innocent women and children. No, I think what Trump is doing and the administration is engaging in is diplomacy. Diplomacy is not out of the bag. Again, he's ratcheting it up a little bit, but the reason why tariffs hasn't worked to the gentleman's point in the past is because Russia figured out a way to circumnavigate that. So now we're addressing that with secondary tariffs from countries that attempt to, do trade with Russia. And I think that's going to be a heavy hit against Vladimir Putin. And I'll say this and I'm done. I don't know if the war ends under the Trump administration. I hope it does. Trump campaigned on his ability to bring this war to an end and bring about peace. I believed him. I actually vouched for him and I defended him. And I'm going to be honest, if he can't bring about the things that he claimed he could bring about, it's going to tarnish his reputation. And I don't know if he has much of a reputation right now, considering his approval rate, his most recent approval ratings. But I believe that he can bring it about. But he's not going to do it by. I don't know what the previous speaker was suggesting that we would somehow like give Ukraine arms that would give them a massive advantage in offensive attack against Russia and nuclear power and like they wouldn't respond to that with nuclear warfare. I don't see how your course of action brings about any solution to this problem. That's
Well,
reasonable.
to be honest with you, I don't think it's even a matter of weapons. I think it's a matter of Russian oil supplied to Europe, and I think the Russians want the position of supplying the oil and the energy into Europe, and so once they set that up, Kiev, the Ukrainians are going to have to get a piece of that, and instead of arguing over the semantics of it all, they need to start debating over the percentages of the pipeline that they want to run through Germany and start breaking that down along with the natural resources and minerals that they have up there and start splitting the pie. And that's what Trump really wants to do is start splitting this pie out, figuring out how the money's going to be laid out, and let's run to it because basically that country is standing in between Russia supplying Europe with all of its energy. But of course, the Europeans don't want Russia to be in control of that because if they're in control of that, they can turn it on and then they'll be able to also turn it off. So that's what the Europeans are scared of. But as far as we're concerned, I really think that we could almost step out of it and let them figure it out on their own. I almost feel like that would almost be better for us. But I know one thing that's going to happen. If Trump is trying to position himself for a third run, we will see Obama again. I'll land there.
I don't think that would be a good idea if we were to let Russia go ahead and take Ukraine. The reason that's a bad idea is because that puts the entire world in jeopardy. Because
Mm-hmm.
there will definitely be a skirmish between Poland, who is in NATO, and Russia, and then we all get invited. So
Yeah, that's a good
that's
question.
not a thing that we want.
But all they want to do is sell the oil. That's where they're going to have their control. is through giving them the oil directly through the pipeline. They just want the pipeline.
I agree, but I
I
think that
think there's a
oversimplifies it a little bit.
yeah. So I think there. I just I'm hearing these conversations, and one is that I'm sitting here and I'm watching Putin just execute several laws of power against Trump, right? And I'm not gonna say that Putin is smarter than Trump, but what I do know is that when someone is as egotistical as Trump is, they're so easily played. And the one thing that I am pretty certain about is that Putin's desire is to not necessarily, obviously, the USSR, even though he said that the fall of the USSR was the biggest catastrophe of the 20th century. This is how he feels. So, with that being said, his goal is not obviously not to do that. That would be nearly impossible. But he wants Russia to have that same dominance, influence over the world. This is what he is vowing to do, until his dying breath. And I'm not really sure, like we're seeing all these ancillary things. Oh, he doesn't want Ukraine. I mean, we can see what he's doing in Belarus and Georgia. We can see the strategy. And he is playing Trump because he knows that he could play to his ego. He knows that he can. I mean, there's so many things that he's doing that is so obvious, and this is the real danger. I pray to God that Trump has a plan, that he's aware of this, but I don't think he is. And I think he's right at the point where he's getting ready to F around and find out when Putin really lets him know that I am not afraid of you. You think you have me in check, because this is all Trump said. Oh, that war would have never happened if I was president. And I think Putin is sitting back laughing, thinking about, like, this guy is so stupid. And that's how I feel. I don't know if you guys feel differently, but I pray that I'm wrong. I
Well,
really do.
we know historically it didn't happen, right? We know that Putin attacked Ukraine under Obama, did not attack under Trump, and then attacked under Biden. So um, we do know, we have historical context to support that at least there's an inhibition that exists there for Vladimir Putin to fuck around with Trump. So there's a mutual respect. And somebody said, oh, he admires Vladimir Putin. I would use that term differently. I would say he respects a worthy adversary. We know that the laws of war is that you have to know your enemy and respect his capabilities. Russia, Vladimir Putin's Russia is a nuclear world power, folks. We're not talking about another Ukraine versus Ukraine. We're talking about a world power here. A country that has, if I'm not mistaken, the most nuclear warheads on the face of the planet. That country does. So I don't know. I guess to the commentators, Vashan and the other gentleman, I think his name is Rich. If Biden couldn't do it through arming Ukraine to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, where does this end? If it's not going to come from Trump's sanctions regime and Trump's secondary tariff strategy and diplomacy, are we just going to continue to arm Ukraine? We know we know Putin's not going to give up. When does it end? Does it have to end with like a nuclear attack on Ukraine to force NATO to
The
respond
way that it
because of
ends,
nuclear
the
fallout?
way that it ends is from cutting up the pie. You got to cut the pie up. And this is the thing they don't like about Vladimir Zelensky, is because Zelensky is basically like putting Dave Chappelle in the White House. Zelensky is a comedian. He was a cult of personality. Understand that. So this is somebody that is an entertainer. He's not a politician. You follow me? So they don't like dealing with him. But the reality of it is, you got to cut up the pie. They're sitting in a strategic spot. They're right on the water. They're right in the middle of Europe and Russia. And this is where the pipeline has to run. This is about oil. This is about energy. So he's got to be willing to cut the pie up. Now, the way that Trump is already positioning, he's already said we want some of these minerals and we want our hand in the pie too because we've given you these weapons. So the U.S. is already in at the table. We're going to get our slice of the pie because we're going to divvy this shit up. And the Russians want their slice of the pie. And what the Ukrainians need to do is shut the fuck up and take their little wedge of the pie and allow this shit to go. But that's the only thing that's going to avert war is if they cut the pie up and shut the fuck up. That's why they want to get rid of Zelensky and put a new guy in there so we can slice the pie up and get to this money. I'll land there.
Let me say this about our nuclear about this conversation or this talk about nuclear weapons. The United States currently has 5,044 nuclear warheads. Russia has 5,500, whatever the hell. It doesn't matter. In today's nuclear world, we're not dropping what dropped on Hiroshima. We are dropping nuclear fission weapons. These are the equivalent of 1,000 of those going off at one time. So a nuclear exchange would, in from one country to the other, would be the extinction of us all. So we shouldn't be having that conversation.
TC, let me ask you a
Well,
question.
wait, 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 wait,
What
wait.
is
Let me
hard?
respond to that.
TC,
Let me
hold on.
respond to that real quick.
No,
Maybe he doesn't
the topic
understand.
just
Maybe he doesn't
hold on
understand
1 minute,
ballistic
TC.
nuclear warheads. I can explain it to him if he wants. That's fine.
No, we are
And
not talking
nobody
about
needs to know
warhead.
about ballistic nuclear
Speak.
weapons or any of that kind of shit. I'm
Yeah,
saying it doesn't
le-
matter in nuclear war. Nobody wins.
yeah. TC, listen. What is hard to admit that Trump made a miscalculation when it comes to Putin? It's just straightforward. Okay, I mean your submission seems to. I don't know how you're making your observation. We have been following Trump, and his position has been that Putin is not the enemy, Putin is the friend, and Putin could be dealt with. Now he's having a realization that Putin is playing him. And now he's realizing, he's having this epiphany that Putin, all along, probably doesn't want peace. And he's not the only president that Putin have played. Putin played George Bush. George Bush looked straight into his eyes and saw his soul. But he saw something else, obviously, right? So, I mean, we can all admit what is going on. That Trump miscalculated on Putin. Trump was wrong. Now he's having a change of mind. Perhaps he can devise a new strategy in order to get this done. Maybe everybody around him has been right, and he was the one that was at the wrong side of history here. People have been screaming that no, Putin is the enemy. Trump, you are wrong. And he never listened. It just dawned on him this weekend that everybody else was right and he was the one that was wrong. So why don't we just accept that and move forward with it? Why are we just trying to code this and trying to revise history here? I'm done.
So
And TC, we
I don't
can't
know.
take it off the table. We can't take it off the table. I get the narrative and everybody subscribing to it. Oh, we didn't have any wars with Trump. Putin was so afraid of Trump, he would have never, went to war. But you know what? He was getting really warm and cozy with Putin during his first election. Now we see the manifestation of all of that. So we can't not know whether or not Trump promised that he would not get in the way of Putin going to war with Ukraine during after he was reelected. I'm not saying that that's what's happening what happened, but I'm not going to sit here and just act like, Trump was this big bad guy and Putin was so afraid of him when it was very apparent that they were getting warm and cozy and they were in some kind of bromance during his first term.
So what I'd like to say is there's you guys got to understand something real quick. Okay, yeah. You guys have to understand something real quick. Vashan, to your point, let's compare Trump to Biden, right? Under Biden, do you know how many ceasefires there were under the entire 4 year administration? I think this popped off around year two of Biden's administration. So, do you know how many ceasefires in the 2.5 years that existed between Biden's administration with the war between Ukraine and Russia? The answer is zero. And the last like 60, 70 days, 80 days, 90 days, not even a full year under the Trump administration, there's been two going on three, right? Ceasefires. What are ceasefires? Ceasefires are strategic pauses in battles or warfare that are designed to create some space between the parties to allow for there to be peace negotiations. Usually, they're tokens of goodwill to establish some degree of communication to put a cessation.
Chat GPT called. They said
Excuse
that
me.
they're asleep
Excuse me. Excuse
for the
me.
night.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
We know what a
Excuse me. Excuse
ceasefire
me.
is.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Thank you. Understanding that Trump and Biden are approaching this from two completely different um, theories. Trump has his theory that we're going to engage with Russia on a diplomatic scale. Biden figured that he could just continue to promulgate warfare by arming Ukraine, and somehow that was going to bring Putin to his knees. It's kind of like the stories, the old fable. Win and the son had a fight with each other. Who could get the coats off of the kids that were walking up the mountain? Win said, "I'm going to use all my might, and I'm gonna blow hard, and I'm gonna blow all this
You're
wind,
gonna
and
blow
that's
hard,
gonna
all right.
blow the kids. That's
I
gonna blow
agree.
the coats off the kids."
Blow
He's
hard
been
again.
blowing
And then the
hard all
son
night.
said,
Nah, pause.
Ask Grant.
"Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shine bright, and I'm gonna bring the heat." And diplomatically, they're going to remove the coats themselves. And
Oh my
actually, the son
god.
and actually the son won. So with that same idea in mind, you have two unique perspectives. The Biden perspective, which is something that I'm hearing you guys promote over and over and over again, like we're going to continue to arm Ukraine, like by our sheer force of will and power and might through Ukraine, we're going to bring Putin to his knees. Well, we know that hasn't worked. And again, like the fable I just brought up to you guys a minute ago, we know that typically doesn't work. What Trump is espousing is the alternative position, is the sun position that no, I'm just going to radiate diplomacy, and that's going to reduce the tensions, level the playing field, create an environment for there to be negotiation. That's exactly what he's doing when he criticizes Trump, when he criticizes Putin, and in the same breath criticizes Zelensky. He's creating a level playing field for there to be communication between the two, and that's what's going to bring about peace. You guys still haven't answered my question. If we go your route, if we go your method, your thesis that we're going to continue to arm Ukraine outside of some sort of nuclear acceleration, where does that get us, folks? I haven't heard the answer to that yet.
Let
Okay,
me say something.
let me give you, hold
Hold
on,
on.
let me
Can I
give
say
you the
something real
answer.
quick? Can I say
Let me,
something real quick before I lose this?
uh,
Let's talk about this pause that the Russians agreed to. What are we thinking is going on during this pause? We think people are going to take bathroom breaks.
They're
Are they going to
talking
get caught up
about
on their
the
social
pie.
media? Are they going to go ahead and watch the television shows they've been missing? Spend some time with the kids and the family? Hell no. An aggressive country agrees to a pause because they need time to amass their next effort. That's the only reason when you're the aggressor country. There's no diplomacy here. There's no deals being made. There's no conversations being had. Hence our position this weekend. And then their next offense was what? Kiev. There's no diplomacy going on here. And let's stop living in this world where we feel like Donald Trump is coming up with this master plan that is going to go ahead and make a deal and we're going to be out of this skirmish and there's not going to be war, it's going to be peace forever. When the hell has Putin ever given you the idea that he's willing to play ball with the United States? Every pause has led to a skirmish.
Rich, will you answer
Every
my
pause
question?
has led to an offensive.
Rich, will you
Every
answer my
pause has
question?
led to a ratcheting up of Putin's efforts in Ukraine.
Rich, I get it.
That's
You're
it.
very verbose. You're
That's
very
what it has
verbose.
done.
Can you answer my question though? You still haven't answered
listen,
my
Wait, you
question.
call
TC,
somebody verbose?
You
Oh
you
my
still
God.
haven't answered my question, Rich. Hold on, doctor.
Absolutely ridiculous.
TC,
I'm not
uh,
answering that. Craziness, man. That's ridiculous.
I know, right? Call it crazy, right?
It's ridiculous
TC,
because
It's
you live
ridiculous,
and
right? Let's
it's like
avoid it
you have
altogether.
this
Let's call it
master
stupid
line
and
to the White
crazy.
House.
Let's
You believe
ask
you
a
have this
very
master
legitimate
line to the
question
White
that
House in Trump's mind as if
creates
you
a
know what he's
logical.
thinking strategically. And you don't know anything, but what the public can see is exactly what's happening. Putin's saying, screw you, and Donald Trump is now in the basement making a plan. That's what the public sees. The public isn't inside of there going through Trump's mind on what he may be thinking strategically, what he might be thinking about doing. No, we're seeing exactly what's happening. And it doesn't take any of that jargon bullshit that you just spewed to see that.
Yeah,
Well,
so
can
we go
anybody
ahead and
say
adopt
mineral
the
rights?
Biden
All
doctrine.
this shit will be
TC,
settled
I
with
would
let me
just
answer
like
mineral
an
your question,
rights.
TC.
It's just
doctor.
mineral
Yeah,
rights. It's
Well, that's
simple as
fine.
that.
That's fine.
That's
Well,
all
if
this
you can
is
Let
answer,
me
Sir
about.
respond to
Jude,
you.
And
I would
nobody
like you
wants
to
to
answer
Yeah,
to
speak
my
to that.
listen.
question.
You've danced
If we're going
around that
to, yeah,
all
let me
night
pose a
long.
question to you again,
This
Sir
is
Jude.
about
If we're
mineral
going to
rights.
All
adopt
right.
the Biden doctrine of continuing to promulgate war, continuing to arm Ukraine, how does that get us to a solution? It didn't work under the
Okay.
Biden
So,
administration. How
Mineral
does that work under the
rights.
Trump administration?
You gotta divide
okay,
the
let
pie.
me answer you that,
Cut the
TC. Hold
motherfucking
on, sir. Hold
area
on.
up,
He asked me.
and then you'll get
TC,
peace.
TC, the problem. Can you hold on,
One
please, sir?
second, sir. Jamal, I know you didn't take your behind back over to that other app. Go ahead, Sir
I'm
Jude.
over here because
Yeah,
y'all won't let
TC,
me on
TC,
stage
the
over there.
problem with. Okay, sir, can you hold on, please? TC,
Go
the
ahead,
problem
brother. I'm
with your
sorry.
question is that you completely mischaracterized the nature of United States position under Biden. Okay, first of all, Biden was playing a defensive role. A country was attacked, a free country was attacked, and United States played a role to help them defend themselves, to fend off an aggression. You failed to mention that point. That is what is going on. And that has been very productive because without United States help, Putin's calculation and miscalculation at this point was that they were going to run over Ukraine under 3 days. They had the capability to do that. But without the defensive effort that the West mounted against Putin, that war would have been over, right? So don't tell me that it was a failure that what America was doing. And Ukraine was in the process of even taking over, reclaiming lost territories before Trump got into the picture to try to sign over the whole place to Putin, right? And that is the fact on the ground,
All right,
okay?
Sir Jude, I'm
So,
willing to play your game. I'm willing to play your game.
no, but that's
Who
the
was it?
fact,
Who was it
right?
that? Hold on,
But
Sir
let,
Jude.
let me let me
Let's
land.
deal with
No, no,
this,
no. Let me
Sir
finish.
Jude.
Let me land this. No, no, hold on, hold on. There was a comment that you made initially, which is completely. I mean, I don't want to. Okay, it's flawed. Let's just use the word flawed. The rationale that because in your own calculation, people in Crimea, a large population of Crimeans speak Russians or veers into Russia, that we should then let Putin have Crimea. It's completely just. I mean, this is like tantamount like if Spain happens to um, invade Puerto Rico, just because the people speak Spanish over there, and vacillate towards Spanish culture, then should we have let Spain take over Puerto Rico? You know, it doesn't really make sense. You have to understand that there is a very bigger picture here. Okay, Russia, if they have the ability to run over Ukraine, they would have run over Ukraine. But with U.S. support and the support of the allies, Ukraine has the opportunity to maintain its territorial integrity and its sovereignty. And I don't see anything wrong in helping them to do that, to beat off an aggression. Why would you just hand over a country to Putin? I'm done.
So people in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks, right, Sir Jude? I'm sure you've heard that before. You came out with the criticism that I had some sort of like fundamental misunderstanding of the Biden doctrine and how they engaged with Ukraine. What you didn't mention, though, is the fact that you have a fundamental mischaracterization of the realities of the defensive position of Ukraine before they rolled into Ukraine. Because what you didn't mention was the fact that it was the Trump administration, not the Biden administration, that gave Ukraine the weaponry to defend itself. Remember, Obama gave blankets, Trump gave tanks, right? It was actually the Trump administration that gave Ukraine the defensive position it had, the infrastructure it had to ward off that attack. And what we know is that Biden actually wasn't able to respond until well after the 3-day time period that you claim Ukraine needed Biden to act in to stop that offensive and being successful. It was actually the Trump administration's delivery of military and defensive infrastructure into Ukraine that gave them the ability to ward off the Russian attackers. So again, you come back to the same conclusion that there's a divergence of doctrines here, that
Now,
we're
I think
responding to an aggressor is the argument that you're making, Sir Jude. But Trump actually created an offensive position for Ukraine to defend itself. But for the fact that Russia saw weakness in America, Russia would have never invaded Ukraine. And Trump was correct. If he was president, there would have never been an attack on Ukraine under his administration because he was actively creating an offensive defensive position for Ukraine to be in to prevent that from ever happening in the first place.
I think you're shifting the goalpost, but since you want to go there, let's go there a little bit, okay? Um, Obama has already appropriated money for Ukraine, okay, before Trump got into the situation. And you're fighting a war. America has a flexible response approach to the war. The war was fluid. Obama gave them what they needed at that particular point to fend off Russia. And as time goes on, the war changes, the dynamics of the war changes. And Trump came in based on the money that has been appropriated by Obama. Trump was able to give them the javelin, which is what you were referring to, which was needed at that point. And as the war progresses, more weapons were needed, more requests were made, and America has to evaluate those requests based on American strategic position as to not to escalate or get Americans involved or to escalate the conflict to get into the extent of maybe using anything more than conventional weapons. So that argument is kind of flawed there. Okay, what Ukraine needed in 2001 and what they needed today is two completely different things, right? But if you even want to go there, remember that it's because of the withholding of Ukraine Congress has already authorized for Ukraine that leads to the quid pro quo that got Trump second time impeached. Okay, so Trump wasn't like and this altruistic gifter and enabler of Ukrainians' position. It wasn't like that. Okay, most of the things that did during his first time was actually forced. Okay, majority of his people got convicted because of the role that they played against Ukrainian interests, which is by extension against American interests in Ukraine. So you can't just use that. But let's move forward.
No, no,
Okay,
no, no, no. Let's
Trump
not. Let's
now
not. Let's no, 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 no. Let's stay right here,
hold on.
because
Let me land. Let me finish. Okay. Let me finish. I don't want to make elementary arguments here. I've already told you some of the things that you said are flawed. What I'm looking at right now is whatever happened in the past. Trump has now have this realization that Putin is now the bad guy. Putin is not telling him the truth. Putin doesn't have a good conscience in propagating this war. Okay, that's where Trump is as of yesterday. Okay, hopefully he wouldn't change his mind. Okay, hopefully he will come to realize that whatever peace that he thinks that Putin was looking for, whatever phone call he thought that he was going to make and stop this war, wasn't going to happen. So where do we go now? Are we going to allow Putin to run over Ukraine, or are we going to fortify him and have him fend off the aggression? That's the issue on the table. I'm done.
so I said a minute ago, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Once again, anybody can look this up. He called my arguments flawed. They were 100% correct. What he just said was 100. It was not even flawed. It wasn't even like misstated. It was flat out wrong, false. Maybe it was willfully so, and he's trying to intentionally manipulate the conversation to suggest that his positions are correct, or maybe it was not willful, and maybe he's just ignorant on this. But Obama did not appropriate weapons to Ukraine. Okay, that's how you get the whole concept of Biden. Obama gave blankets, Trump gave tanks or javelin missiles, as you correctly stated. You just flat out lying. Like
You
you can't
stated
come
that
on here.
about
You
four or
can't
five
come on here.
times.
Excuse me. You can't come on here,
How
Sir
many times
Jude,
you gonna state
and
the
and
same
and
thing?
and say that what I'm saying is flawed
Don't
when
call me
you're
a liar. I
literally
get on
flat
stage
Hey,
out
and
hey,
say,
giving
guys,
misinformation.
we're gonna want to move this mic around, some guys.
Let's move it around,
No, no, no,
Jonathan. But
no,
we
no,
were
no,
having
no,
a
no, no,
debate, and I'm
no,
just
no.
I'm challenging it, and now
I
we got
know,
to move it
but
around.
yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
yeah. No,
Spanky.
one mic, because I've been listening to this challenging for a while. Okay, I'm so sorry, but there's others in the room, guys. So anyone else wants to jump in?
Well, maybe we need some fact checkers. Listen, I know
Okay,
it's cute
so
to it's cute
anyone else want
to
to
Dude,
jump
you
interrupt
in?
can't
me while
listen to
I'm
I
So,
mean,
nobody.
speaking.
I swear.
you're
Anyone else wants
very
to
It's
jump in?
cool.
arrogant.
So, Jonathan, let me just say for the record that President Obama did not give weapons, but he did give aid, and the aid was not blankets. There's a whole congressional report on what he did give. Trump did give the Javelin missiles, but let's not forget that he stopped and withheld um, aid to Ukraine because he wanted them to investigate the Bidens and stuff. So while they were being pummeled by Russia, he stopped their aid because he wanted them to investigate the Bidens. And so, in respect to President Biden, he worked along with his NATO allies, with the other people from the West. Collectively, they gave aid packages to Ukraine to help them fight against Russia. And they did, and they were doing a very good job, especially when they gave them even more weaponry towards the end of the Biden's administration. But what happened when Zelensky came here and made Trump look stupid? He withheld the aid, and then Russia went in and really started attacking Ukraine. So now we're here. So, TC, get your facts right.
Yeah, well, the only thing that nobody wants to address, which is the real issue, is the energy and the land and the minerals. That's what, all the recapping on who gave what, blankets, missiles, this, that, and the third, that doesn't have anything to do with where we're at today. We're talking about minerals and energy. That's it.
No,
And that's
I
all.
don't think we're even at the point of minerals and energy or any of that.
And that's where it's at though. That's
No,
where it's,
right now we're
and
at
the
the
reason
point
why,
of
hold on, I just wanted, I'm going to land quick because I'm not arrogant. I don't have to hear myself talk. The reality of it is, it's at minerals and energy. This is what the man has said. Both of them have said it. Putin wants to get Crimea because he wants that space of water. He can send ships to Europe, and once they build a connecting pipeline to Germany, they can facilitate energy there. That's what this is all about. The minerals, they have rare earth minerals there that you can put into your cell phones, put into different appliances and shit that we need. So we don't have to buy the shit from China. And they don't want to do business with Africa. This is about minerals and oil.
well,
Period.
oh, I agree with you on
All right,
I agree.
well, you
I
can't
agree.
disagree. That's what it's
No, I
about.
agree with you at a certain point, but this
Well,
is
I
not
mean, it's not a
that's a
certain point.
strategic
This is not about nuclear weapons. Nobody
that
wants
is
to
a
have a nuclear
strategic
war.
advantage to having a presence over there.
But
That's
all
all
I'm
that
telling
is.
you is this.
It's
All
just a
I'm telling you is
strategic
this.
advantage to having a presence
Well,
over there.
all I'm saying is this. You let this guy speak for a half an hour, and you won't let me get two sentences out because I'm speaking sense. All this is about is oil and nuclear and goddamn minerals. So what Zelensky needs to do, what they need to do, is remove Zelensky. And that's what they don't want to do because Zelensky, you know what he's done? He's taken guns and weapons from the United States that we've sent him and sold this shit on the black market and enriched himself. People don't know that, but this is how this motherfucker's
What?
gotten rich. from
Bro,
sending
that is
him.
ridiculous.
It's
That's
the
not what
truth.
we're talking about here.
It's documented.
We're
It's
talking
true.
about this war right now. Well,
Well,
that's
I'm
drop
talking.
the
ridiculous.
documentation, Jamal, because you sound crazy as hell.
That's
That's all.
Hold on.
ridiculous.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. I just want to make it. Let's make it clear. If you YouTube it, Zelensky has taken weapons that the United States has sent him and sold them on the black market. That's the truth. And
Okay.
that's why, hold on, wait a minute. Excuse me. This is the reason why Trump don't care for him. Because these motherfuckers have been getting paid. We sent them over $20 billion over there. And that money isn't accounted for. And this is the reason why we want to remove Zelensky all the way together. Get his ass out of there. And that's the number one thing that we need to do. And this is why Trump agrees with Putin. Because Putin don't like Zelensky either. Nobody wants to fuck with Zelensky because you can't get no business done with him.
I
This is
mean,
what it's all about.
you have a
I'll
hard on
end
for
there.
Zelensky. You talk about him being a comedian, but Donald Trump is a reality TV star. Like
I'm just
you
telling you,
really
this is
no,
where
you
the
sound
problem
crazy.
is.
That man has a right to defend his country because he is the president that they chose in Ukraine to lead their country, and he has a right to defend and protect it. And it's not just the United States. Like I said earlier, there is a collective of Western countries, all NATO related, that was giving Ukraine all of this assistance to help them fight Russia.
I wish I had some help. I wish
Let me
somebody
say this. Let
in
me say
here
this
knew
to
what the
Jamal
fuck
because I
I'm
wanted to
talking about.
respond to you. I wanted to
I
respond to
really
you,
wish
Jamal.
somebody knew what the fuck I'm
Okay,
talking about.
well, since they don't, let me respond to you. The only what you said about the minerals, okay, there is a little bit of truth there. Yes, but that
Everything
is
I'm saying is
let
true.
me finish what I got to say, man. That is only a strategic advantage of having a presence there in Ukraine. That's all that is. The only choices that are left on the table is either we let Putin advance or we draw a line in the sand and let him know that the only thing he takes with him are the areas that he's already annexed and to go back home. That is the line that's in the sand.
Or
Nobody's
we
sitting
just
down
pull
having
out of
talks.
it totally.
Let me finish. Nobody's sitting down having talks about minerals. Nobody's sitting down having talks about future pipelines. Nobody's sitting down having talks about who's going to get this or who's going to get that or divvying
That's
up a
what
country
it's
that has
all
not
about.
been vacated yet. Nobody's
That's what
talking
it's all
about that.
about.
The only decisions that's being made this weekend at this hour is do we let Putin advance and give him the advantage in the area, thus making our presence weaker, or do we draw a line in the sand and tell him you go no further? That's it. And either we're going to have a NATO incursion or we're not. Nobody's talking about fucking minerals.
That's what this is all
Yeah,
about is minerals
but yes, they are. It's
and
the
oil.
United States. In order for us to help Ukraine, Trump wants the minerals. So yeah,
Thank you.
I'll agree
Yes,
that
and
Thank
that's why I
you.
said
the
it's
United
a
States
strategic
really has
advantage.
the
It's an
United
advantage,
States.
but that
We're
is
the
not
ones doing it
what's
and
on the
stuff.
table.
Exactly. It only the United States is putting it on the table because that's what we want in exchange for helping Ukraine.
Absolutely. This is what it's
Who's
all
our
about.
ally? Who's our ally? Basically.
Exactly. And so we're not going to put our weapons up and all our fucking military might, and we're not getting nothing
You
out of
do
it.
re- you do realize that basically that there is an alliance that we would help and what have you, and so we shouldn't basically base that assistance on if Trump has a temper tantrum and gets mad because Zelensky makes him look stupid in the White House, so he stops aid just on the whim because he's angry with Zelensky, which is what he did, which is why Russia has the incursion that they have right now. So if you're gonna
Russia's interest is
if you're going to do the right thing, then do the right thing, but not based on your temperament.
and Russia's interest is the pipeline. Russia wants to sell that oil. Russia's got an ungodly amount of oil that they need to get sold. They want to control that European market. That's what this is all about. What the hell do you think they want Crimea for? So they can vacation? No, they don't want Crimea to vacation. They want Crimea so they can build the pipeline.
They
This is
can
what
build
this
a
is all
pipeline.
about.
No, they can build a listen, buddy. Like they can build a pipeline and do it correctly. They don't need to take over land that is not theirs. I mean, get a grip. Like honestly, they could do that, and they could actually. They're only 4% of the GDP of the worldwide GDP. Russia's only 4%. Like why are? And we all know that Ukraine, Russia invaded Ukraine. It's a fact. So don't believe the shit. If Russia wants to actually sell their oil, they can do that. You learn from America, motherfuckers.
50 Russias could not match our GDP. Trust me, it's not about money.
All about money. This is not
It's
about
always.
anything but money. It's all about minerals and oil. That's all this is about. And so when what you have to do is get Zelensky, dumbass, out of the way so we can do some business. We can't do business with Zelensky because Zelensky don't know what the fuck he's doing.
He's not even asking for it.
It's the most asinine thing you could say. Like, why does Zelensky have to give up anything with his country? Is like that's just idiot. That's a
It
stupid
really is
This
statement to
is what
make.
it
ridiculous.
is.
It's
It's
I know it
it's
sounds
his
idiotic,
country.
but
It's
this
his
is what it
country.
is.
He does not
It's
have to
not
give
his
up
country.
anything. He does not have to give up anything. It's their country. It's not ours. It's not Russia's. They don't have to just, hey, here you go. We're gonna give it to you so that you can stop bombing us. And what are we gonna do now? We're gonna
They
become
need a
Russia.
new election.
Are we
They
going to
have to
become
have a
Russia
new
again?
election.
They're in wartime.
Bullshit.
There's not going to be an election in wartime, silly.
And that's the reason why they're having the problem that they're having. Because
Jamal,
they
that's
want
ridiculous.
It
Zelensky's
is
ass
not.
out of there.
What's his
Jamal, that is
approval? What's his
ridiculous.
approval rating, Jamal? What's his approval rating right now today?
They're saying that he's approved it over 70%. But
Okay,
that
No, he's
doesn't
not,
matter.
Jamal. No, he's not.
They're,
His approval
they're
rating
saying
is
that Zelensky is approved at over
Zelensky.
70%.
you're talking about Zelensky.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say. The people want him in, but the U.S.
So he's
and the
not going
Russians don't.
anywhere. He's not
But the
going
U.S.
anywhere.
and the Russians don't want to do business with him.
He's
Okay,
not going
so
anywhere.
he needs
Do
to
you
leave
y'all
because
don't understand that?
Jamal.
Goddamn,
So
you college
he needs to
motherfucking
leave. He
bourgeois
needs to leave.
intelligent blacks
He
don't
should
What
understand
he
does
that.
should
bourgeois have to
he
do with
should
anything?
he should leave
You
because
feeling
Russia
less
and the
than?
U.S. don't want to do business with him. So he should just leave.
The U.S. don't
So
want to do business
by
with him.
so by that account, should all of the countries on the continent of Africa just
The Russians
disregard
don't want to do
and give
business
us
with
their
him either.
gold and give us their diamonds and give us all their resources and their minerals as well because we don't want to do business with them. So just give us. So
Understand this. Understand
just
this. Understand this.
leave and give us
If
all
you're
your
in the
things
middle of a
while you're
war,
leaving.
all right. So if you're, I'm just going to say this quickly because you guys are so intelligent, y'all will figure it out. If you're in the middle of a war, I know because you're so college educated, intelligent people. Look, if
Yes,
you're
we
in the
have an
middle of
issue
a
with
war,
intelligent,
hold on, wait
educated
a minute,
people.
He
wait
does
a
have
minute,
an issue. He feels inadequate.
wait a minute. If you're in the middle of a war and you don't have a gun and you need to borrow my gun to fight in the war with your friend across the street from you.
Can we
But
talk and
I'm
not
over
yell?
here. Hold on, wait a minute. But I'm over here
Can
two
we talk and
neighborhoods
not
away
yell?
from you.
Can we talk and
Jamal,
I
not
know your
yell?
Jamal,
blood pressure going up. I know
Yeah,
Jamal.
it.
there's a
I'm too.
user.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know how loud I was.
That's all
Look.
Okay,
right.
yeah, let's
All right,
talk.
so I'm
That
two
makes the user
neighborhoods away from
experience
you. Well,
terrible.
I can't
One
talk
second,
when
Jamal.
everybody's
Share.
Okay,
talking
we're
over
Hold on,
me.
one
hold on a
at a
second, Jamal.
time.
Share. What are we
Jesus.
doing? Go ahead, babe.
Thank
What
you,
you saying?
Chad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm two neighborhoods away from you. I'm your cousin, but you need a gun. Now you need this gun to fight a neighbor that's right across the street from you. So you come to me and ask for the weapon. But I tell you, well, if you're going to get the weapon from me, you got some tennis shoes over here that I've been wanting. So for me to give you this Glock, I'm going to want these tennis shoes that you have, the Jordan 3s. And you say, well, these are my favorite tennis shoes. I don't know if I want to. But then your neighbor saying, look, nigga, I'm about to come in there and fuck you up. So
Whoa,
now
whoa,
you
whoa,
in a
whoa, whoa,
position.
whoa! With that
Hold on.
word,
Yo, one mic,
Hold on, hold on.
No,
And
no,
so
one mic, one fucking mic, bro. The fuck, bro? We don't use that N word in here, Jamal, and you know that already.
my
Don't ever
bad.
do that
I
again.
really didn't know that. I apologize. But
No,
look,
one
so
second, Jamal. Okay, I'm just letting you know that's the only warning you get, man. After that, we can
that's
move.
fine. It doesn't matter. I won't even worry about it.
Then leave. Then leave. If it doesn't matter,
All I'm saying to you is I apologize.
okay, you know,
I'm not going to do anything other than apologize,
okay,
and
okay. Well,
and
don't
that's
wait.
one time.
One second. If you apologize, you wouldn't be talking over me right now. Okay, because I don't want you to say that you didn't know. Okay, we don't use that word. We don't use disparaging words. Okay, we don't use that we don't use any kind of word for any group of people. Okay, so I'm just letting you know right now. So I understand your passion.
Got you.
Okay,
Yeah, I
but
got you. I
refrain
got
from
you.
that. So,
I
but
got
yeah,
you.
but you're not gonna talk over me until I'm done. So with
Go ahead.
that being said, with that being said, go ahead back with your full throated passion, but please stay away from those kind of words.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and I respect your position as the host of this podcast and show. And thank you for allowing
Jamal,
me to
you would
speak.
have known that wasn't appropriate if you had gone to college. I'm just saying.
I know, and I appreciate that too. And I did do some trade school. All right, and I'm doing pretty well for myself. But anyways, I'm doing mine. I'm getting mine. But anyways, so I'm in this conference, and you need help from me. And I say I want something from you, but you don't really want to give this to me. So I go over to your neighbor, and your neighbor wants something from you too, right? But you're in the house in the middle of this. You want a gun from me. You want your neighbor to get out of your backyard, but you don't want to give up shit. But you got a son and a wife that's more easy to negotiate with. So it might be better that we get rid of you so we can do business with your son or your wife. And that's where we're
Jamal.
at right now. Hold on. That's where we're at right now with Zelensky because Zelensky don't want to do business. Zelensky needs to come to the table and start talking money. How we can split up the minerals, how we can split up the oil, how much percentage he wants from this pipeline that Russia wants to build, and he needs to start doing business. Now, if he starts doing business, you'll get peace. I'll land there.
So Jamal, that's a bully mentality is that someone comes to you for help and you start saying, "Well, what can I take from you to get this help?" Why not why can't it be what it actually is that the countries that border Ukraine, a lot of them are NATO alliances. So if we let Ukraine fight this war with Russia and we help them fight the war, then it's going to keep Poland and other places out of the war because they're right there on the border. So it'll kind of shield and protect them from having to be part of this and causing a larger coalition to actually get involved with the war. So basically, Ukraine is a shield to protect our actual allies as part of NATO that's sitting around them. So why can't that be the reason that they're helping Ukraine? Also, we're trying to put a lid on Russia. Why is
We
it
don't
that
need them.
why
We
is
don't
it
need them. We're three neighborhoods away from them,
why
and
is
we're
it
not in any
I'm
uh,
talking I'm
problem.
talking I'm talking so why is it that you have to say, "Give me your tennis shoes," in order for me to give you this gun to fight? When you're fighting with this gun is going to protect the whole neighborhood that border your home when all of these people come to invade. That's a selfish thing. And let's not forget that Zelensky was at the table. He went to DC to sign a mineral deal with the Trump administration in exchange for continued support and assistance, as well as he wanted assurances that they would have peace mission people over there to ensure that Russia would leave them alone. So
But you coming in with hat in hand.
Zelensky came to the table. The U.S. wanted minerals from them. They wanted our help and our assistance. So the exchange was going to be even. But Trump got his feelings hurt and sent Zelensky packing without doing a deal and then allowed Russia to attack them because he stopped the aid.
Because
So if you want to talk
you're
about what
coming in.
happened, I'm speaking. If you want to talk about what happened, say everything. Don't just make up these little idiotic stories about a gun and some tennis shoes.
You're coming in with hat
I
in
have one
hand,
question. I have
asking
one
for some.
question.
First of all,
I have one
the last
They
question.
time we
both they both were
hold on,
asking
wait
for
a minute,
something.
hold on, I'm talking now. First of
Oh, you
all,
don't
we let
interrupt me
you.
because I'm
Actually, you're
going to
not
interrupt you a
talking.
couple of
You're
times.
screaming.
Okay, first of all, the
Jamal, you
last
kind of
time
like
we,
yelling at everybody. You're yelling at
Yeah.
the
everybody
So
here.
last
can you
time we were
talk?
fucking with you,
Is
the
there a
last
way to
time we
talk
fucked with
without
you,
screaming? Is there a
the
way to
last
talk?
time that we fucked with you, you took the weapons that we gave you and the bullets that we gave you, and you sold them on the black market so you
That
could
didn't
profit.
happen. That didn't
That's
happen.
exactly what happened,
It
and
didn't happen.
we have evidence of that happening. And
No,
but
you
here's the
don't.
thing. We don't even have to debate it. You're coming with hat in hand, asking for a favor. We don't owe you shit. We got an ocean between us, and ain't nobody shooting at us, and nobody wants smoke over here. So, with that being said,
You keep forgetting the U.S. had their
hold
hand
on,
in hand
hold
too.
on,
The U.S.
hold
wanted
on,
something
hold on.
as
You're
well. Add
interrupting
that
me.
part.
You're
Yeah, I'm gonna do
interrupting
it.
me.
I'm gonna
You're
do it.
interrupting me.
You interrupted me, so I'm gonna
So
interrupt you. Add the part
so
where the
so the
U.S. wanted
reality of
something
it
as
is
well. Add that part.
you're coming here with hat in hand. We don't owe you shit. You don't even have a food that you sell in the United States that we know about. You don't have shit in the United States, no interest at all over
What do you
here.
mean they
They
have
don't have
You
a
grain?
don't even
They
food.
make
supply
French
fertilizer.
fries. You
Wait.
don't even make a hamburger
What
over
Oh
here.
my goodness. Oh my
So
Don't
goodness.
we? Didn't we export corn and soy from over there as well? I'm confused.
so the reality is you coming over here trying to borrow
French
something.
fries, hamburgers, cousins,
Right.
aunts, uncles.
You don't even make a dish that Americans know about. There's not one Ukrainian dish that no American on this stage knows about. So
Why are we
we
talking
don't give
about
a
Nerds.
food?
fuck
Why
about
are we
Absolutely
talking about
Ukraine.
food?
is.
I'm talking about us giving a fuck about Ukraine because
We
Ukraine don't mean
hungry.
shit to us.
We
So
are.
the reality of it is you come in here hat in hand asking for taxpayers' dollars. We've given you billions of dollars and now we're at the table trying to finish this shit and calm it down. And now you're acting like you've got a position to tell us what you're
Take a
going to
breather.
do
Take a
and what
breather,
you're
bro.
not going to do. And that ain't how it works.
I
I
just
That
bet
have
you
a
dude sound
quick
like
Biden is
question.
confused right now.
he not
Where
making
did,
much
where do
sense, but
y'all
he sound
live?
like he packing y'all up.
I have a
Yeah,
quick
oh, that's right,
I
question.
feel
Carlos.
like
I
Joe
have
He
a quick
packing
Biden.
y'all
Just
question.
so
up.
just so we
He
clear,
packing you up,
I have
Rachel.
one
I know,
question.
girl, but just so we clear, Ukraine
Packing you up,
exported
girl.
cars, petroleum gas, corn, let's see, iron pipes, pig iron, fruit juice to the United States. Jamal.
I have one question.
All
Yeah,
shit
but the
we can,
issue is
I'm
all
this.
as
shit that we
confused as
produce on
I
Biden is
our
have
right
own.
one
now.
question.
All shit we don't need them to produce.
Oh, no, so now you have that to say. You said that they didn't import anything over here, right? That's what you said? But now you have a problem with what we did exchange with them for. Just stop
Well, I
it.
just wanted to know, did JD
Well, y'all do
one?
got to
I have
understand
a one
something though.
question.
That I mean,
One question.
land and resources are the basis of all wars. We don't fight wars on this planet without getting something in return. And Jamal kind of got it, but he's kind of like off with it a little bit because he's yelling at y'all. You know, the issue right now is Zelensky is not in a power position on either side. On one side, he has an enemy that's trying to take more of his land, and on the other side, he's got an American president who really doesn't like him and is trying to use any reason necessary to allow Russia to go in and take over Ukraine. So he's not in some kind of power position, and he is going to have to deal with the American president if he wants to stabilize and secure what he currently has. He's not never going to get Crimea back. The only thing he can do is try to sustain the way Russia doesn't take more land. And if he pisses off Donald Trump with his crazy self, Donald Trump will take those resources that he's allowed him to use away from him, and he will let Russia do what it has to do. Donald Trump does not care about the NATO alliance. He's already telling you he don't care about the NATO alliance because he's only talking about America first. So if Putin takes over Ukraine and he takes over other NATO countries, Donald Trump basically saying, "Be damned."
Carlos, he already did that when he had his temper tantrum and stopped all aid to Ukraine, and that's when Russia went in and started doing what they're doing. So what are we saying here? We know that he's a petty person, and basically his temperament will dictate what he does. Look at now how all of a sudden Russia stop. I'm going to impose sanctions on Russia, which is what Biden did. But oh, now that he's saying he wants to do it, then everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump is going to do something to Russia. Yeah, get real.
We
So scary. I just have one question. Did JD Vance, did he thank the Pope before? Like, that's what I want to know because, that was the last meeting the Pope had before he died. And gosh darn it, he gave him a lot of blessings because that's the last person that he probably should have been meeting with, before he passed away. And this is ridiculous, actually. JD Vance
I
calling
never gave a
Zelensky.
fuck about a pope.
Jamal, you got to let him
Hold
finish.
on,
What
real
were you
quick,
saying,
man.
man?
Jamal, there are women in here. All that
I'm
cussing you
sorry.
doing. Now,
Man, you
listen,
got to
all
take
that.
that hood street
Them
talk
old
talk
folks
somewhere
get
else,
can't
Jamal.
take her as that night.
But they
Y'all know
can't
that?
tangle tourists. My God.
Yeah, I know it.
I can't remember one
Put
besides
your
Pope
pants
John
on,
Paul.
Jamal. My
I
God.
like Pope John Paul II. I was a little guy. I
Jamal.
can remember
Jamal.
him.
Jamal. Jamal.
Jamal, you
Jesus.
got to put that Thunderbird down.
Yeah, listen. We didn't ask
Exactly.
about
That
that.
MD 2020.
We didn't ask about
He on that
that.
red one.
So
I molested Pope. I ain't never gave a fuck about
hey,
him.
hey, hello, hello, hello. There
No,
are
that sounds
there
like
are
some OE, y'all. He got a
that
40
might
up
be
in there.
OE. It's
That's
giving
some OE.
Thunderbird though.
That's
It's a
giving Old
Thunderbird
English
spirit.
800.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it
We're
might be
we're
OE spirit. I
communicating in
don't
black
know.
right now. Just give us a few moments.
Yeah, give us.
But
Look,
We're sorry,
Thank you.
Caucasian
We're
we're
people.
so
sorry.
This is
sorry.
hey,
we're
Having a
hey,
sorry.
black
y'all,
conversation right now.
that's
We're
some
gonna
Give
get
us
it
a
Everclear
together,
couple
with
of
some
boss.
seconds, please.
Just a second.
that's some Everclear with some grape soda.
Oh, absolutely.
That's some omega oil. My
That
God.
sounds delicious, actually.
I know. Wait a minute.
Exactly.
It could
Welcome to
be
debate the
wild
news.
Irish rubs too.
Shout out to Boone's Farms in
That's a
Colorado.
fact.
How
Welcome
long was your
to
suffering through that?
Lord. That was funny. Welcome to debate the news, guys. Welcome to this amazing podcast called Debate the News. Are y'all enjoying the conversation tonight? How
Minus
y'all
the Coke
feeling?
45.
Hey, Chad, let's open up to Sassafan and the people in the UK. They have questions about what the hell we're talking about. Sassafan, what questions y'all have?
There you go. I don't know what we was talking about neither.
Can you
Go
guys
ahead, Sexapine.
translate all this shit? Good morning.
Good morning, Sassafan. What questions y'all
Good
have
Oh
morning,
man, oh
Sexapine.
man, what
across the
was
pond?
that?
What questions y'all have across the pond,
I
Sassafan?
don't have a
How can we
question. I
clarify?
just want somebody to translate this crap. It's like, oh my lord, what did I walk into this morning?
Sexapine, can
Sassafan.
you tell them to stop blaming me in the chat? Can you tell the chat stop blaming me for this? Thank you.
Well, y'all just tell them this is good
I'm
old
I'm
fashioned
I'm
hood talk.
sorry,
This is
man.
hood
Maybe
talk.
you were to blame, so I cannot even try
Sexapine,
to
have my
help
back,
you
girl.
out
Have
with
my back
Sassafan
this.
done
across the
turned on you,
pond.
chat.
She done turned on me. God.
I'm not across the pond. I'm not a Brexit. I'm in the EU.
Oh, correct me. I know that's right. But you still didn't have my back. So there's that.
Chat you. This was so hilarious. Oh my lord. Oh god, this was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
So
your questions in the chat. Like,
it's
what? Like,
like
can somebody
it's like
translate?
what is about the tennis shoes and the gun? Like, get the hell out of here, man.
She said, "What about the gun and the tennis shoe?" Like,
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But
the
so
neighbor, the neighbor, the gun and the tennis shoes. That was hilarious.
I'm
yeah,
still trying to
so
figure it
did
out.
anyone can anyone translate that?
He basically
Well,
saying, if I'm gonna let you use my gun to defend yourself, I want them shoes. I want something in return. That's what he's saying. So quid pro quo.
oh, okay.
That's
Thank you,
nasty.
I
Carlos.
like that word quid pro quo.
And Sassy Finn,
that's some
tennis
college
shoes.
educated bourgeoisie, Jamal.
He would like it. It's
Sassy
illegal.
tennis shoes are also known
Hmm.
as sneakers.
Yeah, y'all don't ever accept a dinner invitation from Jamal. I'm just saying.
Y'all better
Nikki,
Jamal
Nikki,
balling. Y'all
I
tripping.
love your PTR. That's a beautiful PTR. That's the best one you've
Uh
had.
oh, he got him one.
Uh-huh.
He got
I'm
him
gonna be
one.
down in
Hold
Houston
on.
Yes,
soon.
chat.
I'm gonna be down there, ready
Uh
to
oh.
eat
Oh, he talking
Uh
to you,
papados.
oh.
Jet.
Uh oh.
He got him one,
No,
Rachel.
he's
He
talking
say
to
ready to. He
He
Storm.
say ready
talking
to
to
Storm
eat.
in
Mickey.
Houston. He
He
talking
say
to
ready to
Storm.
eat.
Where's Storm at?
He talking to Mickey, girl. He got him one.
Oh,
Um,
he ain't
so
talking to me.
so do y'all think that what's going on, like his turn is do y'all see Trump softening? Because we saw the turn from the tariffs with China. We see him softening up on that. Now we're seeing him soften up on Ukraine and Russia. Is this a trend?
This is
Can
a
we say the
failure.
same thing about
It's a
immigration?
failure.
Like, do y'all see? Do y'all, is this a trend that's
Yes,
happening?
he did this before in his when he was this first administration. So yes, it's a trend. It's just actually expedited.
Got excited and whipped it out too fast.
His
Pretty
plan
Oh,
much.
has failed. It's a
Jamal,
failure. It's a
now,
failure.
Jamal, now listen. Now I vouch for you in the chat, sir.
I
Okay,
love you, Chad.
you
I'm just
killing it.
saying he got excited. He came in there signing presidential decrees and all these goddamn. He was signing a
Executive
lot of
orders. Executive
executive
orders.
orders.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
The
sweetheart,
educated bougie knows that.
and thank you, baby, and I love you for it.
Rachel is
But
bougie.
he came in there signing a lot of executive orders and decrees and stuff very quickly. I think he did what he did over 150 in what 2 weeks.
But
Of course,
I'm
because
asking
there's
because if because he also signed HBCU legislation or executive order. I'm sorry, that was around HBCUs and funding and some other initiatives like STEM
He
and
did a
like.
lot of good. I'm not saying that all of it wasn't bad or good, but I'm saying I think this was a rollout. The shit that he did, it could have took him really 2 years to
who
stretch
cares?
that out. He could have
It's all
stretched that
film.
out over a couple
It's
of
all
years
it's all
and
film.
moved a lot slower and did the Bill Clinton move because Bill Clinton was the best president that I can remember in my lifetime, and
Uh-uh.
I've been living since President Ford. So I
Damn,
believe Ford.
that's a
God
long.
President
damn.
That's a
Ford.
long
Damn.
time. You was back
I
there
believe Ford.
with Lincoln.
No
1974.
wonder he got that
I
pimp
think it was
mentality.
President Ford.
You back there with
But
Lincoln then.
Damn.
You know,
yeah, it was.
President
Goddamn, y'all act
How
like that was
was
Al
it
George
when
Al
Washington.
Gore.
Juneteenth hit
You should
Galveston? How
listen
was
to Al
that?
Gore.
You
Al
know
Gore
what
is
Chad
speaking right
told
now.
you?
Al Gore,
All
when
I'm
they fired
saying
all the
is
people
that
doing so this is
Bill
Oh,
Clinton.
Jamal, hold on a
Bill
second.
Clinton was the best
Jamal.
president that we had, and he
Okay.
knew how to do it, and he moved
Uh-huh.
slow with it.
We
Slow.
appreciate that. Absolutely. He
We
did.
know what he knew how to do.
He moved slow with it.
He moved
Absolutely.
slow with it.
Yeah. CH, y'all had there was a lady over there trying to chime in. Go
Well,
ahead,
Chad,
ma'am.
this is GA. I was trying to get in,
GA, this sexy finance. Go ahead.
hi, I
you
was
know,
trying to chime in when you let me know.
but let the lady go
Not sexy
first.
Okay, honey.
finance.
Oh, let the lady go first, whoever that was.
I was just
See,
gonna
you're up.
say, Al Gore is actually speaking right now, and if you look, if since this gentleman, speaks about Clinton, when they rolled out all these firings, they did it not with a chainsaw. Okay, I mean that's not the way you should operate on any government. We're not under surgery. Our economy was doing quite well. Okay, so that's what you have to look at in terms of the reality of the situation. The reason I believe that Trump actually is taking a step back is because he fucked up, and it's a fact. Like bond markets, when they actually went sideways, like they did and are, it is not. It's actually really horrible. It's a horrible sign, and everyone doesn't want to say that to people that are not familiar with the economic downfall of economy because it was writing was on the wall. So don't sit there and say like, oh, he did all these executive orders, and wow, that's so exciting. No, a lot of all the executive orders are not working, and they're going to cost more money for our government. So, because people are getting their jobs back, it's just, and our courts are being filled with all this bullshit. It's not working for any people of the United States of America and or the globally speaking.
Well, you actually said about 60% of what I was going to say. To answer your question, chat, is this a trend? We all know that there's one thing that drives Donald Trump's decision making. It is his ego and the numbers. The polls are looking extremely bad. He does not like to be embarrassed. I mean, there's been a multiplicity of reporting about the fact that he keeps saying that eggs are down to 38 cents, which the math works out. Nobody's buying eggs for 38 cents. Um, and he keeps saying that gas is under $1. Gas Buddy in the report says that there's no place in the country that the average gas is under $2.90, $2.80. So his ego is being wounded now at that point. So he's having to walk some stuff back because he does not like to see his poll numbers so bad at this point. And it's a reflection to the executive orders. Yes, he knows good and well that he can write executive orders up to the wazoo. It's going to the courts. The courts are going to smack the 80% of them down. But we talked about this before, chat. It's him actually testing the waters to see what is the appetite of the American public, to see what he can get done later on down the road. Will you allow me to push the Constitution to a point where it may break. Will you be okay with that? Let me feed you enough red meat to see whether you'll like it. That's what he's been doing. Get the court cases out of the way, and then in years 3 and 4, he can start pushing to actually change some things. That's where it's going right now. Do I think that he's going to back off immigration? No, that's still red meat for MAGA. So, no, he's not going to back off that.
Don't think he's done yet. I think there's probably a couple more swords that he hasn't pulled out of his toolkit yet that they actually are going to exercise before they push back, before he completely concedes, because he's already fucked our economy. So he's going to keep moving forward anyways because he has nothing to lose because he already fucked up.
And actually, if we look at the polls, it looks like America is actually giving him the answer as far as how far he can stretch the Constitution, and that's not far at all. He now has the lowest approval rating of any president ever.
Unfortunately, he still holds the House and he still holds the Congress, so he can still proceed with other like crazy things. And I'm sure there are a couple that are going to come out of his toolkit that probably are part of Project 2025 in the next week or two, because it's coming down to a close. But I'm wondering what that would be what that would look like next.
Well, in case you don't know, they're already putting together the bill that is a slate. I can't remember the exact number, but it's so many of the key points of Project 2025, all stacked into one bill, 1,000 more pages long. Of course, nobody's going to read it. That is where they're going to put all of the pork barrel spending and all of that stuff and cut the things that people, it'll be in the small fine print as it always is. They're trying to get that together so they can actually put that on the floor later this year. That's the next, if you didn't know, that's the next thing.
Could you be more specific in terms of what ideas you might have around what areas they would be proposing to, chisel into?
Oh, you go through Project 25 and flip through, yet they're trying to get all of that done. They're trying to put all of that in one bill.
I just
Just
don't
flip
know if
through it.
he's going to be able to keep doing this because I think that, look, I'm surprised that, California actually finally, chose to, they stepped up. They're suing him regarding these tariffs. I'm just surprised they didn't do it sooner, to be quite frank, because he has no legal rights to be doing this. It is a man-made recession that we're looking upon. I guess 7-Eleven said they're expecting to have like 200 stores closed. Like, not kidding. Like, I just like, it's just really, they're talking about like how, we're going to see in a couple of weeks less on at stores. And even because he's still not, even that Walgreens, even though he took a step back from, you know, this 146%, we're going to be really impacted in the next couple of weeks is what we will be living this, for, and you got summer, you got spring, you got July, and then you got school time. It's really messed up. So, and this is not going to help innovate. It's not going to build our economy. It's slowing us down. And that's the problem. And that's why, you got to wonder, like, at some point when he knows he fucked the economy, he's going to keep proceeding with these other alternative plans that he has because nothing to lose because he's making money on his own because he knows how the market's going to swing.
I'm gonna sum it all up by just saying we out here trying to function.
Is that a San Francisco function?
Function, junction.
And button
Pretty
Noah.
much.
What was that?
I'm telling my age. You said, is that a San Francisco function? I think somebody said conjunction function. I said and button or, but I'm telling my age. I'm sorry. Schoolhouse Rock
It's
reference to
looking,
the young
it's
folks.
looking bad. It is, but I don't think it's terrible.
Well,
Because
I'll
I,
give it
I can
2 weeks when
remember
we don't have
worse
things,
times
when we are
in the
losing.
country than
Listen,
this. I know, and I know GA, you can too. I mean, I think the '80s was worse than this.
Oh no, sir. No, sir. From an economic standpoint, from an economist standpoint, I'm not a certified
look, I don't
economist,
think you
but
should. There's
I,
two things that I don't think you
no,
should do.
I don't.
There's two things that I think that you shouldn't do. Is you shouldn't flirt with a communist country. You shouldn't flirt with them. Okay, those are two, that's one thing. You shouldn't flirt with fucking up our economy, especially if it's man-made, because it was doing just fine. And he could have done all this without having done what he's done, because it's been chaotic. So those are the two things that I really would hone on to. Is like, don't flirt with a fucking, country that's a communist, because we're not a communist country. Okay, and period. And then secondly, don't fuck with our economy, because that's how he's thrived, and that's how he's made money, is being able to work the judicial system, and to take advantage of it when he's in power is just even more of a disgrace, because that's how he's made so much money, is he's taken advantage of the legal system for so long now.
Okay, can I just actually put a stop sign here for we go down this hard, fast road? First and foremost, understand this, that we are overdue for a recession. Can we start there? So,
Hell no. There's no
wait,
reason
wait,
in the
wait, wait,
American
wait,
economy,
wait,
dude. There's no reason for us to be in a
wait.
recession at all. We are the leading world economy. There is no reason or rhyme to the
Oh,
reason why the
Jesus.
United States should be in a, no, it's a fact, dude. Like, you cannot fucking, there's no reason or rhyme
White
for us
folks
to
out
be in a
here
recession.
hurting.
Okay, I know we're emotional. I'm not yelling. So there's no reason to yell and no reason to crash out. I'm talking from an economic standpoint. Every single 8 to 10 years, we are going to have an economic reset.
We
Now,
understand that.
but can,
But right
let, can
now is not, we did not,
ma'am,
but
let me
we
finish my
understand that. This is
statement.
a man-made fucking
Can I
recession. That's
finish?
the difference.
Can I finish my statement? I know you're
Dude, I
passionate.
don't think you understand look at all,
Hold,
go
hold.
research all the recessions historically
Oh,
speaking,
Jesus.
and tell me why they happened. They were not made by a president. So go look back at the 2008, 2009, look at all the recessions, and you tell me if the president actually intentionally put
See,
us in a recession. You let me know, because it's a fact that
see,
this is not acceptable.
if you calm down for a minute and let me finish a statement before you jump off the mic. I'm not arguing that point. I'm trying to give a whole dynamic of what's happening. Every 8 to 10 years, we get an economic reset. What he has done with tariffs has exacerbated that and made it 1,000 times worse. This was incorrect strategy. This was incorrect economics. He does not know what he's doing. I give you that all day. So slow your roll for a second. What I'm saying is the rate in which the government actually spends money could not be substantiated and not sustained by what we were taking in. There was, in order for us to actually pay for and support entitlements that we are obligated to pay for, in order for us to get the debt under control, in order for us to get a balanced budget, the pathway that we were going, it was going to cause an economic slowdown, not at this rate, not even remotely close to this. And it was actually needed. We needed to have very scalpel, precision, and strategic ways of maintaining our economy and our growth in the GDP. And we're on the path to doing that. What he did was take a chainsaw to a bonsai tree and it completely disrupted the path of growth. That's all I was trying to get out. See, you're freaking out on something that I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying he was a complete jackass. There's no way for him to do what he did. Ronald Reagan actually campaigned against using tariffs this way when he was actually running. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But the point is, we're going to have a housing market crash. I don't know whether you guys spend any time in Florida, but what's happening with the subdivisions that are wide open in Naples, Point St. Lucia, St. Pete, stuff like that. What's happening everywhere across the country? We're going to hit that. And he exacerbated that by the tariff war that he had with Canada. Yes, he's going to have to pull back because a lot of our new construction wood, over 60% of that comes from The wood in Canada is actually the wood is the kind of wood we need to have new home construction. It's going to affect every single facet of our economy. And this is just the beginning. Even if he stops today, the slide is already started. It's like an avalanche. You don't get to put a pin up there and stop an avalanche. It's going to be cataclysmic anyway. So we just need to be prepared for that. If he dies tomorrow, we're still going to have problems.
Dude, there's always problems in life, but the problem is like it's not only the housing market. Florida market's already actually crashing. I'm sorry, I understand that. So is Austin. There's a lot of housing markets. You haven't even seen the start of that happening yet. Like the medical research, at Harvard, the cancer research, those projects actually been invested in for years. They had to stop, and they actually are about to like come out with some new cancer solutions, like new cancer drugs. It's like not, and that's canceled. So the waste of money. I mean, you talk about waste and like the waste of money. All these employees are being rehired back. He has saved not a dollar. He's actually just caused chaos. And he's degraded our allies. I mean, there's nothing that has actually, come out of good out of this. Yes, of course, I'm okay with the strengthening our deportations and all that jazz, but not random, not people that have never due process. That's not okay. But I mean, of course, like, he's doing intimidation theory. And so that's good. You should have, that should have been acknowledged in his first administration. He was focused on the building the wall instead, which he couldn't even finish building a third of it. But now he's claiming that he built it. Like, so he's making all these statements that just don't make sense and kind of makes him sound like mentally unstable, if you ask me.
Can I say something? Okay. So there was a lot of things that were mentioned that were, I would say, um, that were not going with that were not going together. Like you guys were saying that, sorry, no, GA GA was
GA is fine. Don't get tongue tied. You're fine.
GFS, you were saying that you were going to go into recession, so something like this was going to was bound to happen. But the first thing I would say is Trump actually did a better way of doing tariffs in the first time when he was elected. So he actually talked to Canada and then the quote unquote he says right now, right, that oh my god, we had so many tariffs on Canadian goods, blah blah blah, and that was the worst deal ever. He was the one that made that deal. So, firstly, that. So, there are other ways of going about it, and he has done that before as well. So, this was the worst way of doing it. And then, secondly, the thing that you just said that it was about to happen, he has bounced back and forth by saying, oh, I'm doing this to negotiate, and then later on saying, no, I'm not doing this to negotiate, I'm just equalizing the playing field. And not only that, if you were really going into a recession and something like that, and you want to have more money into the country, obviously there is a huge, like, I know you guys, if somebody is for Trump, there'll be immigration. Like, I don't want to talk about like just the immigration stuff because that's a completely different thing. But I think in the previous 1 or 2 years, the non in the non legal, yeah, the non legal people has had paid, I think, about 1 billion in taxes. And on top of that, if you do throw them out the way that Trump is doing, you have to pay $1 trillion more. So you are taking out money more. Not only that, this is my last point, by the way. I know I'm rambling, but if your country is going into recession, your budget should not be more. Both the terms in which Trump was in US, not was like in the previous term and in the current term, his current budget is much more than Biden's budget. And Biden was still going through like, I think Trump, when he went out, COVID obviously hit that. But after Trump left, there was still COVID things going on. So Biden had to go through all of that. So still, his budget was more. His estimated budget was more than Biden's. So if your country is going through recession, you don't create more budget. You don't create more expenses.
You know what? I agree with you 100% with everything you said. Only sticking point that I can say is that the latest numbers that I have is that illegal immigrants actually paid $96.7 billion dollars in taxes in 2022. That's the latest numbers that I have. I don't have anything updated past that. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, that is a sticking point in the fact that he has actually increased the national deficit. He has increased government spending, all in the names of actually decreasing government spending. And I love the fact that you brought up the fact I've been saying that for the last 3 months is that his railing on these are horrible trade deals with Canada and Mexico and China. You wrote them in 2017. I mean, there's video and news conferences of you. This is the greatest deal ever made. I am the great deal maker. Yeah, well, you wrote the deals that you're complaining about today. I love that you brought that up because it's a fair assertion and it's true. It's factual. So you are correct in that. And
The the
and
biggest
I don't
heist,
disagree with any of that at all.
the biggest
In
heist
addition to that,
ever.
hold on, I'm almost landing. The other part that you brought up that I think is really, really actually key that we don't talk about enough is the fact that there's a difference between marketing something and selling it to the United States population, or voting population, and what they're actually doing. Those are two different things and two different agendas completely. This is, and I know they don't, I know this is not popular to say, but literally, this is the privatization of the American taxpayers' dollars. That's literally what it boils down to. Let me privatize it so I can actually put it as a consistent income stream and a consistent revenue source to the people that I want to, and take it out of the hands of the voting population so they can't direct their tax dollars. That's literally what this is. On its face, it is not a concern about curbing government spending. It's not about utilizing the tax dollars. It's not about actually making the government work more efficiently. None of that is the case. That is all farcical and propaganda. None of that is the case. Economists and people that understand how money works and how the global economic flow of wealth and assets actually move understand exactly what this is. This is simply the privatization of the American dollar. Bottom line.
It's two
So
hundred,
I
two
agree
hundred,
with you.
two
E.
hundred deals made that he claims to have made. They're personal deals. He's making deals. We will not know the discussions that have transpired. This is not about us. Come meet with me at the White House and put money into my crypto. And yes, you can meet with me. I mean, that's literally what is going. That's where the focus is.
It's not about you not knowing about the deals that you make. I think it's pretty evident because he has made, like, he has put I think now it's 120% tariff on China, but then because of Apple, he has excluded a lot of things so that Apple products doesn't become expensive in United States. And first he was talking about, oh, we want to negotiate things. Then he was talking about, you want to bring companies to America. So yeah, he's flip flopping. And if you are gonna exclude things, we're gonna put tariffs and then exclude things just because of one company. That means that the both of things that you said were not true. You are just making things easier for your quote unquote buddies.
Did chat disappear from chatter? Or are you still there, chat?
Chad is not in the building.
Chad is not in the building. You guys still over there? We kind of hogged it at CH, but you guys chime and take it back.
We're still here.
I miss my buddy Jamal. He is so glad that he got his Colt 45 tonight. Hopped in on you guys over there.
Is anybody a MAGA here, though? Just asking generally, seeing what personality everybody has.
I would describe myself as not affiliated with any of the above.
So you're a leftist, you're a liberal, eh?
No, I'm nothing.
How can you be nothing?
I'm not a leftist. I'm not a rightist. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, Libertarian, none of the above.
So you are a centrist.
Okay, if I have to have a label, I don't.
Yeah, so when you're not either side, but even the centrists lean on one
I
side.
don't lean on any side.
Which
I don't even like centrist people.
you have no opinions. So you're a person
But
with no
why don't you
opinion.
just let him elaborate though, Itachi, please? Maybe he
Yes,
just
sir.
don't like
Kindly,
boxes, right? Just let him use his
kindly
own words.
elaborate.
Yeah, when I say that is I say it this way, and that's the reason why. The reason why I say that is because I do not agree with the political platform of any party, and I'm not saying I disagree with everything, but there's no political platform that I agree with. Let's just put an arbitrary number of 70%. No, I don't. There's things that I don't agree that with the Democrats. There's things that I don't agree with the Republicans. There's things that I don't agree with the Libertarians. There's things that I don't agree with the centrist. There are and the reason why I say that is because I'm not a typical American. I'm not typical. So what would benefit me personally is not going to benefit the average American, typical average American household of a white family is $80,000. Typical average household median income of a black family is 52. I don't fall into any of that at all whatsoever. So what benefits my wallet? I'll give you just a really short example. This volatility and the stock market crashing, I have made more money in the last 3 months than I probably made in most of my investing for the last half of 2024. I've made crazy money, but it benefits me because I make money on both sides of the ledger. I'm not an average American. So for me to espouse what Trump should do from my vantage point is pretty self-serving, and I can't really actually talk about that as what's going to benefit the collective for all. That's why I say I don't actually label myself in any such group, because what benefits me doesn't benefit the most. Does that make more sense?
So, quick question: Did you vote? Did you vote?
Yeah, I did vote.
Okay, and if you don't mind answering, who did you vote for?
I voted for Harris because I voted as a single issue voter. I have daughters, and I voted simply on the fact that I'm pro-choice for my daughters. That's the reason why I voted.
Well, okay,
I voted strictly for my daughters, and I want them to. I don't want the. See, your mic is open. I voted because
sorry.
I don't want the government telling my daughters what to do with their body. That's why I voted the way that I did, and I don't mind answering that.
So the thing that you voted, I love that you voted that, especially because you have daughters. There are a lot of people in here that voted for Trump regardless of them having daughters. But the a little bit I have issue with your thought process is that just because not exactly an issue, because I have heard a lot of people saying the same thing and then they voted for Trump. They voted for Trump. They're like, I voted for Trump just because, and I'm talking about those people that have this thing that, okay, it's benefiting me, so that's why I'm voting for Trump. So I have issues with those people that benefited and then voted for Trump, regardless of all the things that he does and he says, and thinking that he's good for business. So the only issue that I have right there is, usually you do not vote only because you benefit yourself. You usually see that a large portion of the population, who does it benefit? Both of the genders, and especially one gender, is going to be harmed really bad because of it. So that's why you vote. That's the only thing I wanted to say after hearing all of that, because I thought you voted for Trump. Sorry.
No, don't ascribe that to me. I mean, quite honestly, and that's why I said what I said, is because Trump's harebrained antics in the economy going sideways benefits people like me because I make money on that. So if I was voting selfishly, I say, yeah, let him tear everything up. I'm going to make crazy money. Absolutely. I would have voted that way. But that's not how I vote. I vote for my kids. I have adult daughters and I voted for them because I'm going to make money either way. I'm not going to be hurting. Whoever, whether Harris won, it probably, I would have shifted my business a little bit. Would I have been hurting? Not really. It would have just actually cut into, I might would have been paying more taxes, but that's about it. But I would have shifted my money so that I wouldn't have to pay the taxes. It'd take me a while, but I figured it out. But I voted for my daughters because that's something that I can't buy myself in and out of. And my money can't take care of that. So that's why I voted that way. But we're all good. We're moving to Portugal anyway, so I'm straight. Bull, why did you run C out of the room, Bull? You always do this, man. You're off mic, but we can't hear you, man. Dude, that's weird. I don't know what's going on with your mic. Is it just me, guys? Or can you guys hear, Bull?
I can't hear anything. Maybe if they go out and come back in, maybe it'll fix it. I don't know.
Yeah, Bull, if you go out and come back in, maybe you can hear. Maybe your mic will work.
Am I audible now?
Nah, there
Yes.
you go.
I don't know what happened. I had to reboot the app. Yeah, I ran off. Who? See? I think she had a hot mic or something, man. While you're referring to that comment earlier,
Nah, I was just giving you a
she,
hard time.
yeah, no, you're good, GA. I mean, both of those ladies were a little bit hot-headed. I think they made a lot of assumptions. That's why I was just like giving them a hard time as well. Not necessarily a hard time, but you know. But everyone is moving to Portugal nowadays, huh? Have you been to Portugal before, GA?
Yes, sir. I've been going back and forth scouting it out for the last couple of years, and Hopefully, we'll close on our house by the end of May. Everything looks like it's a go.
Right on. So I'm gonna make an assumption here. Are you going to the southern part of the country or?
Yeah, Silver Coast.
There you go.
You knew
How's your
you
Portuguese,
knew
bro?
what was coming.
Yeah, man, that's scenery right there. So that's what
Right
that
on the
is.
point.
How's your Portuguese?
Right on the point, Cascas.
One more time, sorry. I wasn't
Right
paying
on the
attention.
point, Cascas. Right on the point. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, man. Bless, bless. Good luck with all of that, man. In all your endeavors.
Yeah, I'm excited. Most exciting part is, of course, for several years I'm gonna be back and forth because I've got a 13-year-old still in school and 14-year-old. My fiance has a 14-year-old, so I'm looking forward to them actually experiencing school out of the United States school system. I'm just excited about that.
Right on. Right on. I mean, as long as you can grow and experience richer, I think that's something you want in your portfolio, especially as a child or a teenager. So it's a win-win situation, usually. Hey, make sure you pass by and check out Africa since you're so close. Then you know what I'm saying. Just dip your toes, GA.
That's like on the list. I want to actually spend a lot of
Go to
time going.
Madeira,
Yeah, I
because that's
really,
Macaronesia. Go to Gran
yeah,
Canaria. Make yourself to Cape Verde. Just
exactly.
see what you could and then you go to the continent.
Hmm.
Just dip your toe, little by little, man. You know.
Yeah, I really want to spend a lot of time and take the kids and spend a lot of time there because I'm not familiar. I've never been to the continent, not once. I've been a lot of places, but never there.
Right on. There's a first time for everything, man. It goes for us adults also. So what happened with Itachi? You ran her off?
I guess since I wasn't a trumper, she got bored.
I suspect both of them thought you was a trumper, bro.
Yeah, sometimes I confuse people because I don't. I'm pretty down the middle, and because I have two nickels that I can rub together and about 3 pennies, and I live in a van down by the river. They think I voted for Trump, but
I get that all the time as well. And it's not with politics only. Usually balanced people tend to get misunderstood, especially in this age of identity extremism. So it is what it is, man.
yeah, it's just that everybody's got to be so hard one way or so hard the other way, and I just think that there's validity and there's places to be found of agreement in every perspective. So I tend to lean toward looking for those places of agreement instead of places of abrasion or disagreement.
Yeah, hyper politics.
Yeah, that's why I told them no. They actually they were talking about me getting into local politics here about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and I said no, I'm not doing it. And they were like, we've got people that are supporting. No, nope, nope. I'll
You
pass
got
on
to
that.
pander
Yeah.
to your constituents. you know? And if you don't say the right things, they're going to hang you, bro. The mob, the pitchforks and everything. The slightest inference or something. Let's get her.
Yeah, see, I said, man, yeah, I actually had a family meeting about it. I got all my girls together and we went to the beach for a weekend. And I talked to them. I said, hey, they're really on my neck about this. What do you guys think? And my oldest one was the first one to pipe. She says, Dad, you're not gonna pander to people. You don't have it in you. Don't even try it. You're way too direct. It won't work for you. And my even my ex-wife, my first wife, actually came because I asked her. I said, "You know, our marriage is going to be brought up." She says, "Yeah, I don't want to see you on TMZ because there's a couple people you 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 socked in the face and stuff like that. Don't do that." So yeah, we said no.
That's some good family dynamics there, bro. They constructive criticism, and sounds like sound advice. And plus, I mean, you don't strike me. Okay, let me just say, I'm apolitical. I'm very much keeping tabs, but I couldn't. Like, I don't care about these shenanigans, man. So, yeah, leave it at
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I could. You know, I don't.
In
The
another
only
paradigm, maybe I could be a politician, but not this
yeah,
one, man.
not this one,
Just too
man.
fake, bro.
It's too. You know what? I'll say this. I may have, I may could have been a politician back in the Tip O'Neill days. Back in those days, I may could have been a politician then. Um, just because there was an air of gentleman politics. You didn't drag people's family into it. You didn't. That's just not how we did politics back then. I could do that, but yeah, I couldn't do it nowadays. I mean, people get dragged over just the silliest things that has nothing to do with the benefit of the collective. So the issues get lost in the headlines.
They sure do. They sure do. Yeah, sad, really. The more I think about it, but I'm just gonna giggle at it. Smoke on that copium.
That's pretty much it. I mean, we were talking earlier today about these 7 executive orders that he signed over education and how there was such joy about that. The only thing that was really blasted was when he was actually signing where they were allowing the executive order of allowing discipline, quote unquote, back in the hands of schools, that kind of thing. But nobody missed that. Nobody talked about the fact that there was an executive order to realign how they do accreditation, and that schools that don't, the lawsuit that Harvard has about, hey, you're going to teach this, and if you don't teach this, we're going to pull all your funding. You know the back and forth that they had about that. Well, now with this, they've actually changing how accreditation works. So instead of them actually saying to quote unquote Harvard or HBCU, hey, teach the history we want you to teach, or else we're going to pull your funding. Well, now the Supreme Court or the judicial branch has said, no, you can't do that. What we'll do is we'll just snatch your accreditation and you won't be accredited anymore. It's another way around it, but that's not being talked about. That's why I say the issues get lost in the headlines.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce, but yeah, y'all talk. They were talking about how he got shot at. Man, I wouldn't make it past the primary. Somebody take me out of here. They would. I'd say the wrong
Yeah.
thing.
I think it's weird I haven't heard him speak about it as much. Maybe in rallies, but he doesn't strike me as a person that wouldn't talk about it 24/7.
Yeah, isn't it?
You
Okay.
know? I
So it's not just you. You heard that too.
Yeah, I'm just like I was kind of perplexed about that, but not to say anything, but I'm just like, interesting stuff. Like
Yeah.
you should have mentioned that like
I actually,
24/7.
I'm enjoying this conversation. However, I'm about to close that down for good for the night. If you guys want to continue the conversation, come on over to Chatter.
It's been quiet on that side,
CH, I'm about to
Jonathan.
close. Huh?
We haven't heard from Chatter for like 30 minutes or something. Something wrong with the sound, or they still
Yeah,
having a
it's been
conversation?
long enough. It's
Oh,
I
Nah, we
I
actually
told
been
y'all
listening to
chat
you
left the
guys.
building.
Yeah, no, we're over here.
oh,
All
yeah,
right,
are.
CH, I'm going to close you guys down. Bring the conversation over. If you guys are listening to the podcast at home, well, this concludes our last episode for the night, for today. But once again, you guys can join us live anytime. But CH, make sure you guys come on over to the chatter room and continue the conversation. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Jay.
Appreciate you. Bless.
Yeah.
Head on to Chatter, everyone.